Hello and welcome everybody to this episode of The Rise Sportscast, I believe we're called now. Are we called a Sportscast?
It's risesportscast.com.
Risesportscast.com.
And on Instagram.
Obviously, the little change for this week is that I am the host because our special guest for today, capping my special guest on this podcast weeks previous,
That's right.
is our new guest for today, and it is my co-host, Ryan Sullivan.
Well, it's good to be here, Jay. Thank you.
Well, and again, but we talked about this. We haven't talked about this necessarily on my episode, but we were kind of running through the gauntlet of our next guests, and we decided that we just thought our listeners should probably know a little bit more about us and how important it is for us to be the hosts of these ideas and the show and this whole kind of concept of inspirational sports stories. We wanted to make sure that people knew us because then they can see that relation as far as what we're trying to do every week as far as getting these things out of our guests. So we'll start this just like every other one is, how is Ryan the sports fan turn into Ryan the ESPN Hall of Fan in 2012? These types of things don't just happen in a day. As a sports fan, obviously as a sports player, what kind of upbringing did you have, and what kind of brought you to the point of the fandom that you were about to achieve?
Very, not crazy unorthodox childhood, of course, growing up in North Van and, coming up, going through school, just like as you do. But, I was always kind of the more outgoing
Were you the funny man? Like, were you like the class clown?
Class clown, man. Voted every year, and then
okay.
Yeah, it was good times. And then when I was in high school, joined the improv team. We brought home a couple trophies. That was nice. And I think probably the turning point was in our high school, which was brutal. And we were talking about your high school a few weeks back, and you had like every sport under the sun going on. It was ridiculous, but at our high school, you could do, if you were a guy, you could do improv, you could play soccer, or you could play basketball. And
right. That few.
That was it. And my feet were like cinder blocks. I couldn't play soccer to save my life. I still toe punt. And and then in basketball, I was amazing at sitting and warming up the bench. Like I still remember there was one game, and the coach were at halftime, and coach was like, "Hey, Sullivan, how are your legs feeling?" And I'm thinking like, "Oh, they feel great." He's like, "Awesome, go get us some water." So that was my basketball career.
Looking for a pun, you were quickly looking for a pun comeback. But,
I was thinking about it, and it just didn't happen. So improv and kind of acting and all that weird stuff was kind of the way that I went, and then. I was always fortunate enough. My family had these Canucks season tickets through a company that my father does some work with, and so I was able to go to tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of Canuck games through the years. And coming up through the 90s, it's a horrible thing because you got to go watch Mark Messier and whatnot. But then the team gradually got a little bit better, and then thankfully, kind of when everything kind of sort of took off is when I kind of had this more integral role as a fan. And basically how it happened was my friend, we'll call him Force, and we went to BCIT together, and we had this practicum. We both had it over in Toronto. We were both working for TSN. And he had these DVDs on him from this show called Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and we were watching that, and it was hilarious. And this guy throws in this green suit and gets weird on acid, and figure we probably won't do the acid part, but we were both going to go to a Seattle Seahawks game when we got back. And all of our friends were sitting in the very top row, so we thought to ourselves, let's get these spandex suits and just embarrass the hell out of them. But my suit came in the mail a day after the game. Came late, and I had Canuck tickets, so I was like, well, let's not waste these suits. Let's go try this out. And then it all just...
So a precursor is to thank Canada Post.
Yes.
For once again showing up a day late. And allowing this opportunity for you guys to wear these to a Canucks game.
Yes.
And what was obviously it started as an antagonizing your friendship kind of thing. But then how did it turn into, okay, well, we have these tickets. What kind of things can we do to somebody that sits in the penalty box that we're basically a glass away from?
Yeah, it was all just like a perfect storm. Like even if we sat 2 seats away from the penalty box, it's not going to catch on like it does. It's because it's there, the camera's right there. And the first night, it was just all in-house stuff, and it was supposed to be just kind of a one-night prank anyways, and we were just goofing around. And So Dave Scatchard got a penalty, a former Canuck, and we started doing some weird stuff, and the crowd had never seen anything like it, so the place just erupted, and everyone was loving it. And then every single whistle from there, they just kept showing us on the big screen because we were just like easy marketing for the team, I suppose, at that point. And then Scatchard got another penalty, and he came in and we started doing weird stuff. And he took a towel and he threw it over the penalty box camera, so it completely blacked out the camera, and the whole place just erupted in boos like you've never heard before. Like, it was just ridiculous, just raining boos and hate onto this guy, Dave Scatchard, and
not to mention, you can hear all this stuff, but I've been in that green suit, and we'll get to that later. But you can't see much.
No.
So again, some of this stuff is pre-cursed as far as if somebody gets in there. But do you guys know what you're going to do, or is it kind of like depends on the person that comes to the box? You know, how did that kind of planning go?
Well, that first night there was zero planning whatsoever. We're going to wear these suits, and whatever happens, happens. And the fact that you can't really see, it makes you a little more courageous. Because if you could see what was going on and you could see the 20,000 in attendance, yeah, I don't know if we're going to be doing the same things we're doing. But the fact that you're basically in the dark, it makes things a little easier. And so Scatchard throws the towel on, everyone boos, and then we kind of etched our way into the hearts of the 20,000 in attendance that night because they just kept wanting to see it. And game ends after we do some more weird movements in these suits and stuff, and we don't think much of it. We go up to the Roxy actually in the suits, and so we're in just these spandex shoots, like shooting pool, drinking pilsners at the Roxy.
And did you cut a hole? Did you cut a hole in your?
Oh no, we just went we took hoods down, and something that we never did again after that.
Yeah. I know you guys were quite incognito with your identities,
right? And so, but no, hoods down. We're slinging beers and. We're just taking it easy, and then I go home, and I get a bunch of text messages, and the next day my phone's blown up, and like CBC wants to do interviews and stuff, and then it kind of took off.
So now we're talking 2009, 2010. You're getting endorsements.
Yeah.
Not to mention that, but you're featured in an E60 documentary with Vince Vaughn. Talk us through that. How did you guys, become these kind of overnight sensations as to everyone kind of wants a piece of you. You're in E60 documentaries. The world is seeing who the Green Men are. Talk us through that time. And are you guys, can you guys believe this? Or are you going, oh, this is a great opportunity. Let's go and maximize this. Let's get even funnier.
Well, I mean, every time we did anything, we always turned to each other and said, okay, this has to be it. We're done. If something didn't go over, if it wasn't like as funny, we're like, okay, well, that's it. No one's going to want to see this anymore. But it just kept growing, and that was kind of the really big year. We started very late, 2009, so 2010, I guess, similar, same season. But, the first endorsement we did was with this company called Agoo, and it was like children's yoga wear. It was like yoga pants and stuff for kids. And I was wearing these on a billboard on West 4th, and they gave us $500 each for the shoot, and that was our buyout. It was $500. You get a billboard, it would take these photos, and you do all this work for us, and here's $500, which is a brutal deal. But at the same time, we were like two kids in college.
You're getting paid to do this. Yeah, for sure.
So the next day we show up, Professor Muggs over at BCI. We just throw down some cash, and we're buying beers for everybody. We're heroes. It was great. And then,
now the documentary. Talk us through the documentary and kind of how that came about.
Yeah, I mean that wasn't too far after. I mean, like the Agoo thing was just. It was ridiculous and, to be honest, a huge mistake because the guy that was running the show was just nuts. But yeah, so we're about to go into the 2010 playoffs, our first playoff appearance, I guess, if you will, and I do a handstand before we enter the playoffs. We're playing against the Kings, and this handstand hits 1 million hits on YouTube within hours after the game. We're at 1 million. I mean, I don't know what it's at now, but it went absolutely crazy that night. And then I think that's when it kind of occurred to us that, like, okay, this, even though we had this stupid children's clothing thing going on, we were like, okay, this is actually pretty marketable. Like, there's some legs here. And ESPN saw it the same way, because just a few days later we get a phone call, and I thought it was just like a friend pulling my leg or something, and this guy, Michael B. Johns, he's like, I want to shoot a documentary on you guys for E60. And I was like, all right, well, this sounds a little ridiculous. But so he flew over from like St. Louis or something, and we ended up shooting this thing for about 18 hours, and it turned into a 2-minute shoot or a 2-minute piece. but it absolutely put us on the map, and it played across North America. It might have played overseas too. It's gone insane on YouTube, and that really got us moving. And then playoffs started. We had LA, and at this point we became known throughout NHL circles, and things really started to change.
Yeah, and I mean, you got Nike, Don Cherry appearances, Boston sponsor. I see BPD.
Yeah. So now we're moving into 2011 here, and we have the first round series is against Chicago, and Chicago beat us the year before. And I shouldn't say us. I'm not on the team. Chicago beat the Canucks the year before.
Oh, and, you were definitely on the team.
Well, and so we're going into that series, and we're wondering what the hell can we do, and we have we got this cutout made of Vince Vaughn in a Canuck jersey, and I'll just kind of go through the run team by team maybe, and so we have this cutout of Vince Vaughn, and this guy comes running down after we put it up. Place goes crazy. Everyone's loving it. And he's like, hey, guys. Like, I'm good friends with Vince Vaughn, and I just talked to him, and you got to take that down. You can't put it up again. I'll give you $200 if you take it down for the rest of the game. We're like, all right. Right, okay, sure. And then, we come back up on the big screen. Everyone's shouting. Everyone's going crazy, and they want to see the cutout. And, like, somebody else, like, reaches down and picks it up and puts it up. And so
technically, you're not doing anything wrong.
Yeah, and so we just let it happen. And then this guy comes sprinting back down again. He's like, okay, you know what? I need that from you right now. I'll give you $250 for that cutout. So we're like, done, sweet. So we give him the cutout, $250. There's another bar tab for the night. And then we actually had two made up, so we brought one the next game. Popped it back up again.
There you go. Just making money the whole playoffs. All that home series. You guys just cashing out.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And so that worked out well, actually, because it was a little bit of money to put towards Nashville. We flew over there the next series, and that was a turning point for the Canucks in that playoff run. I mean, they had the big goal in Game 7 from Burrows, but that was the big one when they went up against Nashville to show that they were a powerhouse. And we were over there the whole ride, and there was a moment that I didn't think would ever get caught on camera, but we were looking up to see if we could find Carrie Underwood because she was married to Mike Fisher. Yeah. So we're looking up in like the suite levels looking for Carrie, and like we look up again, right above us is like Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban, and we're like, oh my god! Like so we go up, like we're gonna just like kind of walk up and say hi, and this woman she's like a bouncer, like she just gets up and stops us. She's like, hey, no, nobody says hi to Keith, nobody. It's like, do you even know him? Like, you're sitting 3 rows down. How do you? And so I was like, all right, well, whatever. So we go back down. We put the green suits on and come back. And then somehow, I don't know if she had like amnesia. She didn't know who we were. So she's like, oh, that's hilarious. You know what? Come say hello. This would be great. So we go up and we like say hi. And we shake their hands. And CBC caught that moment. And then they said like, oh, they're giving it to Keith Urban and Nicole Kidman. So instantly we became heroes in Vancouver, even though it wasn't really the case.
Yep. Antagonizing the home supporters in an away stadium.
Giving it to them and the security staff as well, apparently. So that was great. And then what do we got next? San Jose rolls into town, Western Conference Final. And the biggest thing was we decided not to go to a game, and a girl flashed the penalty box that game, so we weren't missed whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. That raised the roof to a new decibel.
It did, man. And so so this my brother was at the game, and all he remembers is this girl she had a few drinks in her. She's like, hey, check this out, and just like whipped the shirt up and put it against the glass, and so people
Vince
did not
Vaughn,
care.
eat your heart out.
Yeah, people did not care that the Green Men were not there, and then Stanley Cup run rolls around, and I mean all too well.
Yeah, my playoff beard was 3-4 inches off my face at this point.
Nice.
Jay's fitting into Vancouver culture quite nicely. Again, I know who the Green Men are at this point, and almost a Stanley Cup. What would if the Canucks would have won? Did you guys have any special plans? Were there any like preempted if we win Game 7? Yeah, you guys are invited to the mayor's ball. You know what I mean? Like, was there any of that on the table?
There was. So had the Canucks won, we would have been invited to the Nike store because they would have done some like limited run Green Men shirts.
Ooh.
So we could like do a signing at the store, and B, I mean, in not that order. The Hockey Hall of Fame wanted one of our suits to put it in.
Oh.
So if they won, There's a green suit in the
Hockey Hall of Fame
right now.
But we can talk about this, and then we'll get to our first break for our sponsors.
Sure, yeah.
Can we talk about the ESPN Hall of Fan?
Yes.
Now, the Hall of Fan, for those of you that don't know, is the Hall of Fame. And again, ESPN, one of the biggest sporting companies in the world, has a Hall of Fan. So that is quite a big honor.
Hall of Fans, yeah.
Can we talk about how that came about, and what was your best line of your acceptance speech?
Oh yeah, wow. The reason it all came about was really that final series, I think, which kind of propelled us because we were still kind of somewhat known, and then Boston came around, and then we did interviews with like BBC, Fox, NBC. We went on the air live on morning shows in Boston while we were there, and this is before we got a police escort out of the game, which is another
story. And were
story.
you banned from touching the glass at that point, or had that come in after the fact?
No, we had
I know
been.
you guys had some rules stipulated just because of your antics, which is probably something pretty cool too.
Yeah.
So you couldn't touch the glass, and you couldn't do headstands.
No.
Would you say that the headstand was your signature move?
It had become the signature, and it bittersweet that we weren't allowed to do it anymore because everyone kept asking for me to do that in photos, and it's like, no, I don't want to. At this point, I was mid-20s. I was an aging body, and I don't want to keep doing it. Anyway, it was ridiculous. But
and the cup was nice. You had an extra large cup.
Oh yes.
In that
Well, it gets cold by the
area.
ice. You don't want to. You don't want to.
You're drinking beers.
You don't want to look shortchanged down there.
I hear you.
But yeah, no. So that was in the Nashville series. That all got banned. The NHL gave us a phone call, and like indirectly through the Canucks, they told us like, "Hey, the NHL doesn't want you doing this anymore." So that's when the props kind of came out because we couldn't touch the glass, so it was time to go with something else.
Time to hit the props, and now it's time for us to hit our sponsors.
I love it. This is a weird thing being the guest, but also
not every time the guest has to read the sponsors.
I love it though.
I can't read your writing, so
that's true. Few can. So, but why don't we talk about the new Perfect Protein Elevated Anti-Inflammatory by Botanica? It's an organic plant protein blended with anti-inflammatory superfoods, including turmeric and ginger, plus 20 grams of fermented plant protein packed with natural vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, healthy fats, and fiber.
Don't forget that fiber.
Love that fiber. Turmeric helps reduce inflammation, which is great for sports recovery. Of course, I've gone through a concussion. Jay's gone through a bunch of injuries as well. You got to get the anti-inflammatory stuff in there. Yeah, it definitely helps. So check that out. Also, the Burrard Hotel gives us this. Even two guys in green spandex sometimes need to break away from regular life.
And the Burrard has everything we need.
Space for hanging out.
Likes for exploring.
Sweet rooms for getting ready for the game.
And an amazing downtown location.
So book your Burrard breakaway now and we'll see you at the game. There you go. That was the reviving of the Green Men. A recent ad stated the Burrard makes heading to the game that much better. Their inner courtyard has table tennis, fire pit. They have bikes to roam the town, and they're just footsteps away from Rogers Arena and BC Place. So if you want to have a couple pops at the game, that's your destination. Book at theburrard.com and use promo code GREENMEN for 15% off your next stay. We thank the folks at Red Truck Beer, as we always do, for keeping us hydrated. And lots of these stories through Green Men were also inspired through a few Red Truck beers as well. Burrard Physio, thank you so much for keeping the support going. You want to keep that healthy body going. The skilled and caring therapists at Burrard Physio, they are here to help with some carefully assessed, prescribed exercises, over 150 years combined experience. You know you're in the right hands at Burrard Physiotherapy. And why not another Green Men ad for you, courtesy of Burrard Roofing and Drainage.
Drip, drip, drip. Ladies, you don't have to sleep with that drip tonight. You know, that annoying drip in your home you just haven't gotten around to getting rid of? Burrard Roofing and Drainage can fix that annoying drip. For 40 years, Burrard Roofing and Drainage has been fixing roof leaks right down to the cause, guaranteed. Call Burrard Roofing and Drainage. Call 604-986-1812. Burrard Roofing and Drainage. We've got you covered.
There you go.
Just like that.
We are through. We are through the ad block.
And the ad block is over. Now, okay, so we talk about the heartbreak. Game 7, almost celebrity status. A-list stuff. Your own green Nike apparel.
Yeah.
Jay's beard has to be shaven. Game 7, we lose.
Yeah.
Now, I know that's a come down.
Oh yeah.
But the good thing about that is that, again, now you guys are not even just local celebrities. You guys are fan celebrities. People around the world of sports know who the Green Men are now. Now opportunities come. Now all the things like that start to work. And one of the big things that you guys have always done a great job of is charity work. So now it's 2012. You're starting to do some more good based on this great tale and great humor that you get to bring to BC or to Rogers Arena. How does that all pan out, and how do you guys choose who you work with? As you kind of move into this now, and again we move into the farewell tour too. So talk a little bit about the charity, and then kind of when did you want to so and so called stop looking at each other and go, when are we gonna move on? I know the fans didn't want you to move on, but what was the mindset for you guys to kind of turn the tables, so to speak, in your next phase of what you guys were trying to achieve?
Yeah. The charity stuff, looking back, I mean, there's a lot of great memories, and I always fear that I sound cheesy when I mention the charity stuff that we had the privilege of doing. But to be honest, like that's the stuff that really stands out for me. That's the stuff where we actually felt like we were able to make a difference. And we were fortunate enough to be able to be invited on a number of occasions to the Ronald McDonald House. We did a lot of stuff with Easter Seals, BC Cancer Foundation, and the farewell tour was all in support of the Canadian Cancer Society as well. So it was a lot of good stuff there. And basically, I mean, I as much as I'd like to devote more time, and everybody always says like, oh yeah, I'll donate some money and stuff like that, and it just, there's not always enough time in the schedule. But we were at this point where we saw kind of the celebrity, if you will. I would never refer to us as celebrities, but I appreciate it. But the overall celebrity that kind of we had created, it kind of had some pull. It kind of had some cachet, and we thought, let's use this and try and make a positive difference with it. And so we were able to, I mean, for a few different charities, throughout a number of causes, we were able to help raise over $100,000, which is great stuff. And in our final, our second last year, we were invited to drop off presents at the Ronald McDonald House on Christmas Eve, and that was a moment that truly, I mean, changed my life. And I mean, Green Men aside, just as Ryan Sullivan, that truly changed things for me, because it really puts things into perspective once you see this with your own eyes. And we went in there, and like, I'll never forget, I was at the top, because there's a bunch of slides in the house and stuff. It's a really cool place, and I was at the very top, and a kid came running up to push me down the slide, and I mean, these green suits, so it looks ridiculous.
And
so,
probably extra fast on a slide. Lycra on.
You go flying down that thing. But this kid came running up, and he had an oxygen tube hanging out of his nose that was kind of taped to his cheek, and he had just gotten out of chemotherapy. Like, he just walked in the door and immediately put everything down and went sprinting over to play with these green guys, shoving me down, and I could just hear him like laughing the whole way down the slide. And it just like, it's a really unique and kind of magical experience when you get to see this, because I mean, I get upset at the traffic, or I get upset at some junk mail or something like that, and there's people with such more, like, such larger problems than the ones that you have, and to be able to see them just put it aside immediately just to have fun was remarkable, and it's an experience that I'll never forget. And I think that when it comes to the whole story of the Green Men, I mean, that's definitely the part that I'm most proud of, because
that's certainly the word that comes to my mind, fun. And it looked like you guys were always having fun. Obviously, you said, again, that camera comes on and 20,000 people start cheering and going crazy. That there's amazing power. There's amazing amount of camaraderie that builds into that. And I think you guys always, by keeping it light and making sure it was having fun, that reciprocated to everybody. And And then can we talk about one of the last things about writing a book and being a self-published author? As he shakes his head. This is one thing I want to talk about. It says in the note page, book release, and then in the note page it says live and learn. So could you talk about that and then also what makes you guys come together and say, I think we want to bring someone else on the farewell tour to be a third green man. I think we should choose Jay DeMerit.
Oh yeah,
I would love to know that process too.
Okay, I will go into all that. So yeah, the book, I'd always planned on putting something together, and I think what I learned from traveling through the years is that you always keep a journal because you'll forget the memories and stuff, right? And you got something to look back on later. So after every single game, I would write about it. I'd write 2 or 3 pages every single time, and then after a while, after the 2011 Cup run, I looked at this and I had this giant folder. It wasn't a stack, but folder of Word docs about all these different experiences. So I'm like, let's put this together. Let's put it in a book. And I picked up the phone and I got a number off Google for this book agent and gave him a shout. And awesome guy, fantastic fellow, and was very helpful. And we had an offer on the table, and so I would have got 5 Gs to write this book. And just give it to them, and then after that company makes back $5,000, then I make pennies per book or something like that, and
kind of like a DVD about a soccer story. What's up guy that goes to London, and never going to be a lucrative business.
An amazing story nonetheless. And so I mean, at this point, I totally should have just went with that, but this is the one point in time with Green Men where I decided to get greedy. Because actually, and probably it was out of bitterness, because the year before in the Cup final, we were actually offered $15,000 by vote yes to HST to cause they called me up for right before game 2, and they're like, hey, if you can hold a sign up that says vote yes to HST, we could pay you guys $15,000, and we didn't do it. We didn't sell out. We didn't want to do that because you alienate.
Well, unless you're
fans.
A big fan of HST.
Well, I guess so, right?
Which we all are.
People love the harmonized.
We love
sales
tax.
So, but so after that, I'm thinking, summer goes by. I'm like, damn, I could have used that $7,500 right now. That could have come in handy. So I decided, you know what? It's November at the moment. If I gave this to this publisher, it wouldn't be out till March. I'm going to shut her down. I'm going to go through the work. I'm going to do it myself and put it out. And then I'm going to make, 5-6 times as much. Well, I'm going to be loaded. I'm going to live in a mansion after this. No problem. So the live and learn part that I noted there was you get what you pay for. And I learned this, more so than ever when I gave this book to an editor to give to the printing place. So I paid $500. I'm like, this is a steal of a deal. $500 for an editor? No problem. He put in more typos than there were to begin with because he hit spell check on every single page and then shipped it off. He also knocked the font size down because I had hundreds of pages in Word doc, which would translate to a pretty decent sized book. And then, you know what? I brought a copy. It's like a glorified pamphlet. It's a wicked book. It's got nothing but great reviews. People love it. And then there's people like friends of mine. Their names are misspelled in the book because of this moron. So anyhow, so live and learn. But then going through all the marketing, going through setting up all the different interviews and stuff to do for this book it was a long run. And then going through social channels, going through friends and stuff like that, and. It was a long run, and it was a long Christmas season, but you learn a lot at the same time. So live and learn. It was
Absolutely.
Good stuff. Take
hey,
a grain
you know
of
what?
salt,
Memoirs, and like you said, memories that are now down.
Yeah.
That you can show your kids someday. You can.
You know what? I sold a book to this guy. He lived in Arizona, just outside of Glendale. And he's like, I'm such a fan. This is so great. And I was like, hey, thank you so much for the support. And he's like, anytime you want to come down here, I'm going to have a guest room made up for you. I'm like, well, that's very kind. I don't know if I'm going to be heading down. He's like, no. Like, seriously. I mean, you know what? Better yet, you can have my bed. Like, you know what? This is, I don't think I'll be doing this. That's not happening. But, you know what? I would never have been offered some guy's bed in Glendale had I not
just a spare room. I think the spare room would have just been a nice offer. But
I'd get the California King. Look at that. Yeah, I would have never gotten that sweet, lucrative offer.
We live and learn.
Yeah, exactly, right? There you go.
Farewell tour.
All right.
Jay DeMerit.
Yep.
I was on my farewell tour too at the time.
So I'm going to tell you how that all came about. So for this farewell tour, we thought, okay, let's get unorthodox. What haven't we done? We've done a lot of crazy stuff, a lot of good stories. What haven't we done? And we had a third seat. There's kind of an L shape of the seats that we have there. So we're like, why don't we put somebody in the green suit? Why don't we bring in like a celebrity, put him in the green suit? And there were actors because we were actually going to do multiple games. We actually had John Doerr, famous Canadian comedian, was going to come on in one of the games and do the green suit, and that all fell apart. But that was after the fact, because I think it's even so much more special that we only did it one time, and you were in there. But so what we did is we were kind of looking around, and rather than finding celebrities, because both Forrest and I, outside of the green suits, we actually work in sports media and sports broadcasting. So we're big, we're sports fanatics more so than we are looking for Hollywood talent and whatnot. And so I was kind of looking around who's big in Vancouver, but not just that, who would be up for something like this? Who's kind of got that cool party side that might be up for something like this? And I tracked down your agent, I think. And he's or maybe he was your publicist or something, and somebody in your entourage.
Oh
I don't know.
They run really deep. They run super deep.
Yeah. And the guy was I forget who it was, but the guy was yeah, I can I'll connect you with Jay, and then I'll circle back. And I'm thinking to myself, oh man, we're gonna have to pay an appearance fee or something. And then he gave me your email address, so I was all right, well, I'm gonna bump this guy off the email, and I'm just gonna go through Jay.
Get after it.
And you you didn't even hesitate. I think that was the quickest response I've ever gotten with a message.
Hey, I knew what you guys were up to. I knew that it would. It'd be an amazing experience. And it was, and this is kind of my experience of it. It was okay, well, I know who these guys are. I'm in and around the Canucks a little bit enough to know kind of what's going to go on. Again, I'm one that likes to put myself into hilarious situations no matter where I am. So I just thought, why not? I'll give it a go. And I remember meeting you guys down, at the kind of the club entrance, and then you'd go right to the offices, and you guys were both there changing. You had these huge duffel bags full of costumes and fireman outfits and everything you could think of, props and things, and masks and I started to learn that this is a real thing. This is something that has so much thought in it. Something where you guys were, you had different players that you were thinking, okay, now if this guy gets in, this is what we're gonna do. If this person gets into the box, this is what we're gonna do. If it's a Canuck, this is what we'll do here. And I just thought, this is down to a science. This is something that these guys are putting an incredible amount of effort in. But then you sit there, and the way, like you said, I've been said a lot of times in this episode so far, is that the way that those fans come alive when that box comes on.
Yeah.
Oh, it's almost like people are cheering for penalties at all times. And because you never know what's next. And I remember it was the Christmas period, and we had candy canes and elf outfits and Santa hats and stuff, and we maybe broke the rules because we were on the glass. We were trying to climb the glass with our candy canes
in the final season,
and pulling ourselves up.
Yeah,
and messing with these guys in the box, and and again, beers at the time, and through the mask, and again, that for me was quite a fun experience. So again, thank you for bringing me on your farewell tour.
Oh, of course. Oh, it was an honor to have you, buddy. It was. You're easily the best third green man there has ever been.
The best and only.
Yeah. So no, that was a really cool night, and that was throughout our final season, it was kind of a sad time, because as ridiculous as this whole idea is. It became kind of a part of us. It became a cool part of our life.
Yeah, but a real deal, popularity thing too.
Yeah, and so when it winds down, you really do feel it, and and the fact that it had gotten to the point where we could now bring in celebrity athletes from other walks of life, and that are just jumping at the chance to hang out with the Green Men. It was just an amazing thing, and to see that it had gotten to that point, but. The farewell tour, I teamed up with an airline, Pacific Coastal, and I still speak with them. They're fantastic people over there. They do great stuff. So and they're like, yeah, you know what? Let's tie our ships together and let's put you all over the province of BC. We're talking BCHL games, WHL games. I can't remember the acronym, but the rung below BCHL over in like Comox and stuff like that. And so we flew all over the province. And what's really cool is, and I'm positive, as you've seen, when you go to a market that doesn't have like a major sport, anytime anybody comes around that has anything to do with a major sport, you're treated like a king. And it's so cool. So, I mean, like we'd go through all these towns with like WHL, which was great, but like going through like Campbell River and stuff like that, who just have like the junior teams, it was absolutely amazing. Like they treated us like such celebrities, and it was so cool to meet all the different fans and take all the different photos, because, you know, people, they get that one chance to see what's going on. Like these guys, still, we have no affiliation or tie to the NHL, but it was kind of like we brought an NHL atmosphere to their town. And so for them to be a part of that, it seemed to be really special, and it made it so much more special for us. And it was just an all-around amazing experience. And we also got to raise a lot of money as well for Canadian Cancer Society. And what was cool about that was the fellow Bill at Canadian Cancer Society, the CCS, said, what cause do you want this to go towards? And I wanted to go towards, all of the money went towards liver cancer research, because that's what I lost my grandfather to a number of years ago. And like his personality, like, you know, it's a shame he never got to see Green Men, because it was like tailor made for him. He would have absolutely loved it.
Sounds like you got your comedy edge from him.
Yeah, so like a fantastic final tribute. I couldn't have written it up any better than that.
Okay, well, like we finish every show, you know, to go and rise the way that you guys were able to do, you know, that takes a mindset, that takes an ability to say yes, it takes humor, it takes that fine line of being able to stand in front of people and make them laugh instead of boo. You were able to do all those things. You've had a partner in crime to do that. What kind of rules did you guys live by during this amazing time? You know, where you guys are Hall of Fame fans for eternity, and you know, what kind of things did you guys talk about that kept you in the game, that helped you grow, you know, your level of fandom to the elite level?
All kind compliments in there, by the way. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, I mean, of course, you know, there's the obvious, like, you know, be positive, be kind, be courteous. You know, we always had time for photos. I mean, we always had time to chat with fans about what's going on, and you know, interacting with them like really helped grow this thing, helped build this thing. But it wasn't about the marketing. It was just about hanging out and meeting these people. So it created a lot of opportunity for that, which was great. But I'd say that the biggest lesson was just be you. You know, when it comes to what we were doing, it worked so well because it was so natural. This is just like, I love going out having fun. I mean, just like you did in the green suit. I mean, just like Forrest, my colleague there, you know, he loves just having fun. He loves having a good time, and that's what we did through this. And that be you. I mean, I'm going to. I did a speech at a high school reunion, and I used this line. So for the handful of high school friends that are watching this, though, this will be a bit of a replay. But when I was in high school, I wasn't me. I wasn't authentic. I was always trying to be somebody else. I was trying to be the cool kid. I was always trying to fit in with the cool crowd and fit in with the jocks and be one of them and have that clique. And in turn, I was just completely lost throughout all of high school. I didn't have a clique. I had my good buddies and stuff, but you know, I would never classify myself in the cool kid echelon. And then a few years later, I went to a party at a buddy's house, and this is during the 2011 Cup run, and a kid came up to me, and he was one of the popular kids in high school, and he said to me, he's like, right now, like, out of everybody that we graduated with, like, you are hands down the coolest kid from our high school class. And I heard it, and like I heard him say it, and so for one moment I had that, I had the verification, that confirmation. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing, and it's because of what I'd waited my whole life to hear. And then the next moment I was just like, I don't care. It's stupid, because I realized right then and there that, it doesn't matter what other people think of you. The only thing that matters is what you think of yourself. And so for me, that whole BU mentality, that's you know, we kept that throughout the whole run of this, and I think that's why it went as long as it did.
Well, again, hundreds of thousands of dollars in charity raised. You know, you got hundreds of thousands of followers throughout your medias and throughout your tours, and you know, and all that other stuff that came along with the rise. So again, probably our most unorthodox guest so far, but
until we get to San Diego Chicken, I think this is
hey, in the mascot category, the Green Men are winning, and they've taken home the trophy.
Chicken's
so again,
not in the Hall of Fans. So.
Thank you. Yes, of course, Hall of Fan winners. There's not many in the Hall of Fan. And that is a credit to you guys, and of course Force as well. But again, thank you guys for tuning in today. We are really looking forward to some exciting guests coming up. And again, thanks again to Ryan, aka Sully, for coming in and sharing his story today.
Thank you, buddy. That was awesome, man.
And we will see you next time.
See you later.
So we are sitting here at the future site of a really glamorous high-end facility called the Rise and Shine Retreat. Currently we are kind of bootstrapping it with some tents that we've set up to be glamorous campsites, aka glamping. They make perfect accommodation for kids who are joining us for Jay's captain's camps.
Well, I think for us, you know, half of this is about the mentorship program. It's not actually about soccer. The sport is why we're all here. But the mentorship is truly about what skills can we present to these kids and really start to give them an idea of what other successful people are doing in this world. And we have fun little competitions, but we always try to walk them out in the mentor's shoes, because that's truly how these kids can learn.
So we feel it's really important to make sure that they are able to identify their other skills and strengths, and particularly passions. It's not just kids coming up and being coached by somebody in their particular sport. It's kids' eyes being open to the multitude of possibilities and potential for success beyond the field. The idea is to create well-rounded individuals through this program. And then the other side of it is, you know, we have all of these athletes who have transitioned out of sport, or entrepreneurs who have moved on or changed their focus and transitioned out of whatever their career path had been. And it's cool to provide an opportunity for them to be part of it.
To see kids grow and to see kids actually participate in these kind of activities is truly, for me, the biggest benefit I get out of it all, because I could see them physically developing right in front of our eyes. You know, we've been at the highest echelons of high performance, but we've also, you know, we're normal people, we're relatable people, just like everybody else. And we have this rare ability to now create the platform to understand what that means, to support each other, to bring back community and not only in our kids, but as adults, and help each other.
I think that, you know, when you achieve success as an athlete and you are so appreciative of all the people who put so much into it, it's only natural that you'd want to sort of turn around and share what you've learned and your experiences with the next generation.
We call it the Rise and Shine Retreat. That's what we're trying to create. We want people to come here in the health and wellness space and say, when I leave here, I'm going to be shining brighter. I'm going to understand what Rise and Shine means and the mentality behind it. We want to create a multifaceted facility. We want to be able to host weddings. We want to be able to host kids camps. We want to do fundraisers. We want to host community nights where people come and play sand soccer. You know, we have the license and the space to really create our own lifestyle and bring people along with that in all of this health and wellness sphere that, you know, we feel so strongly about, and have a great crew that can help in those environments and create those atmospheres. And that's the kind of thing that we want to do here. We want to be unique. We want to set a new standard in how we should live, and ultimately create a community that really cares for each other.